Hello everybody, my name is Bill Sparks. I'm with Gilead Ministries. The picture that you're currently seeing on the screen is a picture of a gentleman by the name of Jim McKinney. Jim was scheduled to meet with me on Tuesday to do a video just this past week. As a result of his cancer and as a result of God's timing, Jim was not able to actually give the interview that we had planned so that you could hear him tell his own life's story. He flew home, as the family said, on Monday, November 18th, 2024, one day before the time that we would do his interview. Jim was born on September 5th of 1944 in Piqua, Ohio. During his senior year of college, he met his soulmate, Ruth, at Manchester College. And in 1970, Ruth and Jim welcomed their son, James Bryan. Bryan married Amanda, and two beautiful granddaughters came out of that, Alyssa and Addison. And just recently, Jim was able to be on this earth long enough to see his great-granddaughter, Ella, born. Jim was a lifelong learner, a perpetual student. He had a full-time job with the Marion school systems from 1966 on and served part-time and worked part-time at the Marion airport. He served in the Marion community in Grant County, Indiana for nearly 60 years. After retiring in 1999 from his career in education, he continued to work at the airport, continued to serve in his church as a church leader, and then served with Gilead Ministries as one of our board members, and later as a volunteer and as a sponsor, helping us to make our golf scramble probably one of the most premier golf scrambles in the area. Jim was diagnosed with cancer in the early 2000s. At that point, they told him he would have a short period of time before that cancer would take his life. About 5 years in, they began to tell him he had less than 6 months. Well, over 15 years later, Jim continued to beat that cancer. Just recently in a conversation we were having, Jim said, "Bill, the doctors have said I'm on my last leg a number of times. Unfortunately, I think this time they are right." I want to take just a few moments and allow you to hear from Bryan, his son. Bryan wants to share just a few things about his dad and share what it's been like to walk alongside his dad, especially during the last few years as his dad has battled this cancer, and it has taken so much from him, making him weak and unable to do many things, especially in the last 6 months or so. So here's Bryan to share some things he wants you to know about his father.
The easiest thing to say is he was a fighter. He was very strong at times. He was also very weak at times emotionally. It took a toll on him. And, you know, obviously his faith and the things that he enjoyed doing, whether it be helping out with Gilead or the aviation side, mentoring kids, those relieved that emotional distress that he had on himself. And he put it there. The biggest thing that I mentioned this to him that I regret for him was the fact that it seemed like years ago when he got the initial diagnosis and then they took out or removed his prostate and they found that he still had cancerous cells in the area, which obviously spread over the years. It seemed like the doctors just wanted to say, well, it's going to be 6 months to a year, but we don't really know. Or was led to believe, I shouldn't say knew, but was led to believe that life was going to be over in 6 months to a year. And like I said, 24, 25 years later is when it finally happened. But he had that cloud, for lack of a better description, hanging over his head. The biggest thing is no one wants their loved ones to suffer. They don't want them in pain. They don't want them dwelling on the inevitable. But I think that the faith that he had helped push him physically, to not get run down. Obviously, he had those days, Well, my dad's faith was a big thing. Um, the faith that he had gave him comfort, gave me comfort in knowing that he was going to a better place. Um, but I can't say enough about the faith that he had, and it's directing me to pursue that so much more than I ever thought I would in the past.